Hello wonderful people, it is Genevieve and in this video we're going to draw an iris in Procreate. So open up the app, create a new canvas and let's start drawing. So as usual, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer as well as a really rough sketch. So just pick a sketching pencil that you like and you're going to sketch the outside of the iris, so just a very simple circle. And what's great with Procreate is if you hold a pencil and tap with a second finger, it's going to create a perfect circle. So you can do that again for the pupil. So hold the pencil and then tap with a second finger. Once your sketch is done, the next thing to do is just quickly filling it in with the color you want your iris to be. So I'm going with blue, and I will be using in this tutorial the brushes from my brand new brush set, which is coloring pencil or graphic pencil brushes. And I will link it in the description below along with a promo code if you guys want to check it out. Honestly, it is my favorite brush set that I've ever created. It just feels so realistic and so natural. So I'm using in this case the filler brush, the basic filler brush. And as you can see, it just has this really soft texture. It helps coloring really, really quickly. Once you're done filling in your main color, you're going to create a new layer on top of everything and pick a really dark color, so almost black, as well as the 6B pencil if you have the brushes from my new brush set, otherwise any textured brush that you want. And all you're doing at this point is filling in the pupil. So you can see I'm sketching the circle and then using the Procreate trick to make it a perfect circle. And instead of using the autofill function from Procreate to automatically fill the circle, I just want to draw it manually so I can get the texture from the brushes. But honestly, feel free to just use the autofill if you're not looking to get some like pencil texture in your own artwork. For the next step, you're going to go back to your original color layer and you're going to select a slightly darker shade than the one you used at first. So in my case, I'm going to go with a slightly darker blue, as well as the 4B pencil. And all you have to do now is connect with some vertical lines the pupil to the outside of the iris. And don't worry about having them look perfectly straight or whatever. We're just adding texture at this point. So no need to worry about making this step look super good. You can do it really, really roughly and really quickly. And once that is done, you're going to kind of soften the edges a little bit. So if you do have the pencil brushes, what's really cool is that if you tilt the Apple Pencil, it's going to mimic what would happen if you were to tilt a real coloring pencil. So you're going to get like a really soft stroke. So just go ahead and blend in the edges of the iris as well as the inside around the pupil, just like this. And once that is done, you're going to repeat this step, but with a slightly darker shade again. So you're just going to go around the outside of the iris with your pencil slightly tilted if you do have the pencil brushes. Otherwise, you might have to change your brush and get a soft airbrush. But anyway. Once that is done, you're going to pick a really bright color, so almost white, but that it has a slight tint to it. And you're going to pick a really soft brush. So I went with the scribble brush from the pencil brush set. And at this point, all you're going to do is you're going to draw like a ring in the center of the iris that is a little bit lighter. So you're going to have a darker section around the pupil, then a lighter section, and then a darker section again around the edge. We're now going to reinforce the texture that we already have by adding even more darker colors. And you can see here I'm creating a new layer, but you can just skip that ahead because I'm going to merge them later. I just realized it made no sense. So pick the 2B brush as well as a dark hue of the main color that you had as well. So here I went with a like gray, dark blue. And all you're doing is kind of pretending that the pupil is a sun and you're just kind of drawing some sun rays around it, I guess. And that's just adding more texture and more definition to the eye. So again, it's nothing that it has to be really precise. And I'm also adding even more details, so like circles and speckles within the iris as well. And you can see I created a new layer for that, but that's not necessary because I'm just gonna merge them just right now. So go ahead and just do it all on the main layer. I don't know why I created a new one, but anyway. So yeah, you're just adding some details, some little speckles, some spots. And basically at this point, what you're doing, don't overthink it. All you're doing is you're just kind of reinforcing what is already there. So if you see some darker spots in your eye, in your iris, just go ahead and make them even darker with this brush. If you see some really cool textures and some really cool lines that have nice directions, just go ahead and reinforce them. So yeah, just go over really quickly and add more details and texture that way. And I'm also going to, I think, really soon, yeah, I'm just gonna outline as well the outside of the eye just to make it pop even more. So you can go ahead and do that. Again, tilting the pencil to make it a bit softer, and then I'm adding more texture by just dragging in the outside, kind of like reverse sunrise. Once that's done, you're going to pick a different hue. So I'm going with a teal, but feel free to use any hue that you want. And you're just going to repeat the very first step, which was to add some little lines that kind of connect the pupil to the outside of the iris. So go around the entire iris and just draw those lines again with a different hue. And that's going to give just more dimension again to your eye, make it look a bit more interesting because we're going to have some color variation within it. And once that is done, you're going to do it again. So just using a different hue once more. And this time what I like to do is, instead of going all around the iris, I like to kind of do it in clusters. So as you can see, I'm just still drawing the same type of lines, but kind of condensed in specific sections of the eyes. The next step is just to really roughly clean up the outside of the eye. And for that, I am setting the eraser tool to the eraser shape brush from the pencil brush set. But again, you can use any eraser you want. And the next step is really fun, but it is totally optional. It is if you want to have an eye that has two colors to it, you will select your main color layer. And with the selection tool set to freehand, you're going to draw a selection, like a wobbly shape, where you want your second color to be. And you're going to feather that selection somewhere around 30%. And with the hue, saturation, and brightness tool in the adjustment panel, you're going to shift the hue, and that's how you're going to get your secondary color very easily. So instead of having to draw it with pencil, like just changing the hue and adding more strokes, you can do it all in once with this really helpful tool. So go ahead and play around because that gives really, really eye-catching result. Pun not intended. But yeah, it just looks so much more interesting with this different color in the center. We're then going to create a new layer on top of everything, and we're going to use the 8B pencil set to white, and we're basically just drawing lights at this point. I'm going with a regular super simple rectangle, but you can really have fun with the reflection. So you could have a bunch of different little circles or even a bunch of squares just to kind of mimic a window or something like that. But one thing that I would say is really important is to have a part of your shape that overlaps with the pupil, because it just pops more and it just makes the eye look more alive when you have that. And one thing that is really cool with drawing digital art is that you can change the blending mode of your layers. So here you can see I am setting my layer to add and lowering the opacity a little bit. So the final step, once you're happy with your light, is to create a new layer, and this one we're already going to set it to linear burn and lowering the opacity a little bit. And on this layer, we're going to draw some eyelashes, so basically the reflection of eyelashes. So go ahead and pick a really, really dark brown, as well as the 4B brush, or 2B actually. And You can zoom in, but basically all you have to do is just drawing some slightly curved lines from the outside of the eye towards the inside, but not fully connecting with the pupil. And it looks really, really good when you do it over a little part of your light. And you can see my iPad was lagging here, but I think I fixed it. Yeah, I fixed it. So yeah, just draw some lashes really easily. It's really nice if they overlap a little bit and if they don't have the exact same curve to them. And once you have something that you like, go ahead and thicken the outside of that section. So with your black color and your pencil slightly tilted, you're just going to thicken the edges a little bit so it doesn't look super weird and like spidery. And once again, I think I'm going all around the iris. Yeah. So I'm just darkening the entire edge of the iris. Just really quickly. And yeah, you can also play with the opacity to make sure it blends a little bit better. You can also use the eraser to clean out a little bit of the outside edge of your lashes and make them a bit more pointy as well. And what I quite like to do, just to make them blend even better, is to make the eraser way bigger and tilt my pencil and just kind of erase the ends of the eyelashes. I think it just makes a big difference in the final result for some reason. So yeah, that is how to draw an iris in Procreate. And if you want to check out the coloring pencil brushes that I used, they will be linked in the description below, again with a promo code just for you guys. And if you do use this tutorial, make sure to share the result with me either on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And if you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up because it really does help the channel. And last but not least, don't forget to subscribe because I put out new videos every week.